Hey there, Chuck. Can you hear me? Hi there, Chuck. Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Can you hear me at all?
Can you hear me now?
Ah, yes.
Yes, okay. I can't hear you yet. Hang on a second. I gotta make some other changes. Okay, say something.
Hello.
Okay, now we're good.
Okay.
How you doing?
I'm good. Do you like my jungle?
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice.
You're only seeing a fraction of it.
Uh-huh. Well, we don't have much for plants at the moment. We'll probably start adding a few more. So I don't know. I think some of the stuff we had wasn't necessarily the kind of stuff we wanted at first. So yeah.
Well, I had quite a variety, and over the last year, I kind of want to focus on just about three or four different kinds, like philodendrons and snake plants, pothos,
Is that a
monsteras. Like
snake?
the one, a snake plant is a mother-in-law's tongue.
Right. Is that behind you at all or no?
No, no, they're in
Okay.
another part of the room that you can't see, and I've got a good variety. Um,
Okay.
the one you see behind my head, the tall one with the big split leaves,
Uh-huh.
that's Monstera deliciosa, or often called Swiss cheese plant. So
Oh.
I've got several more of those. And then the
Mhm.
one you see to my right
Right.
with the
Hmm.
red leaf,
Yep.
that's philodendron. That's called Macaulay's finale. It's a hybrid,
Okay.
and it's growing really fast.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Cool.
It's literally 2 feet across.
Really.
Yeah,
Yeah. The leaves kind of span quite a distance there.
yeah. And I see you got a little Christmas cactus behind you.
Yes, I thought you would. And of course, that bloomed. I don't know how long ago it was. Several months ago. I think we had 6 or 7 this time around.
Yeah.
Flowers on it. So yeah, it's liking its habitat more and more all the time.
Now I'm going to see. Um, I don't see hmm. Oh, here. Allow record. So I don't know if it will video record. Uh, oh, we'll see what happens. I know it's recording on my end. So
Okay. Should I start the? You want me to start the recording now? Just.
yeah, it's recording. So
Okay. All right. Cool. I got that going.
yeah.
We'll see.
So anything interesting that Chris come up with lately that you want to maybe chat about?
Well, I was thinking about a little bit of today, and the two things I think that um, are seem to be the most inspiring as far as large concepts is the idea of what we can do with Dreamtime and how the part the imagination plays in what we're actually doing here.
Hmm.
How all this comes around.
Okay. And how would you understand
Yeah.
that?
Um, well, so so as far as the imagination is concerned, what I couldn't understand about the imagination is that almost anything we do, even though we're not paying attention to it, we usually create mental images of ourselves in the act of doing it. Like if I was going to walk into the bathroom, I would create an image in my mind that I'm probably not even paying attention to, me getting up from my desk, opening the door, walking down into the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and coming back. So anything we do, there's this process, the imagination is utilized to do it. And so the thing is that to understand that we can begin to use that um, phenomenon I'll call it that for now because another word's not showing up. That's already really going on all the time. If we can learn to use it kind of in a conscious way, then of course that's kind of helpful for what we're doing in day-to-day life. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I know he's talked a lot about Dreamtime over the last couple of years. And Dreamtime is what he calls our both waking and dreaming, sleeping activities. And I also know that it's Australian Aborigine term, and Chris's understanding is very similar.
Right. Yeah, it used to be interesting. There was a little metaphysical church that Roberta, myself, Steve, and Amy have all been associated with. And so through that association, I came upon the information from the Aboriginals from Australia, where they would talk about we dream ourselves into being, and at the time I went, well, what does that really mean? Well, now, of course, I understand it. So I'm going, yeah, these guys know what they're talking about. So yeah, that was kind of interesting. And of course, I spent a long time, probably 5 or 6 years, doing tons of journaling, dream journaling, and having all sorts of interesting experiences. I think even, let me see, before I started to read Chris's stuff, I was doing that. And probably the most intense was then. And then, I still record them, and sometimes they're more intense than at other times. But of course, my feeling for what's actually going on with the symbology and the metaphorical nature of things is enhanced, understanding those things. And then when we did the workshops where you talked about the Bardo state, then I started having that happen, where I would, for me, it was usually coming out of the dream state. And I would pause in a place, and then all the dreams that I'd had meant would show up. I didn't have to try to figure the symbology out at all. It would all just kind of be there. And I knew what everything was about. And then I would wake up, quote unquote, and I'd have all the information there. So that was kind of neat. But then as we started to explore other things, I kind of let the intense focus I used to have on dreams and recording them and exploring them slide a little bit. But now when Chris has kind of reinitiated that relatively lately, I've increased that a little bit again. And I'd like to, especially knowing what it is we know now about, this just being another layer of Dreamtime, to explore that in a little bit more intense manner, I guess I'll say. So, yeah.
He's kind of hovering around, looking for a landing pad.
Sure, right. That's, yeah. something he can move on with.
Now we trust that you are comfortable.
Yes, I am, Chris. Thank you very much.
Indeed, and we thank you for your consideration.
And for you as yours as well. Thank you.
The subject matter of dreams has interested human beings and the human race for as far back as history has recorded, and then some. Though, of course, humans are not the only species on your world and in your dimension that dreams. Many other species, as well as humans, do engage in their own kind of dream time, even though that dream experience is all related.
It's kind of interesting because not too many people really even consider that that's going on.
Even those who are convinced 100% that they do not dream because they do not remember them are able, under certain conditions, to remember even if it is only a few snapshots of dreams. The fact that one does not remember does not necessarily mean that one has not engaged in some kind of dream activity. You do not remember how many breaths you have taken during the course of an hour, never mind a day, a week, or a year. It does not deny the fact that you breathe.
Sure.
But with a little practice, the individual can begin to remember his or her dreams at an increasing rate. And there are indeed many benefits to be had in recalling one's dreams up to and including the eventual ability to direct dream experiences, to resolve inner conflicts, to bring about solutions to challenges or daily problems, and so much more. Your ancestors had an abiding faith in the gods and goddesses reaching out to them as mortals. Having the immortals or the gods and goddesses reach out to them in dreams, bringing them insights, information, intuition, resolution to conflicts, and even prophecy. The ancient Greeks, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Romans, and many ancient other cultures, even the Vedic cultures, were all able to identify these two varying degrees. And you can still, even in this modern day and age, benefit immensely from the cultivation of dream recall, which of course is very helpful if you can record, either writing or voice recording, the events and circumstances that unfold during dreams. Now, the Australian Aborigines have retained a very ancient aspect of the nature of dreams themselves, in that they still understand to this day that there is very little difference between sleeping activities and waking activities as belonging to the same category they call Dreamtime. And this can also assist the human being in understanding the nature of how he or she creates his or her daily events and realities. Because the inner workings of the imagination that is highly enhanced during dream states can be utilized to remember and record to a greater and greater degree until you begin to recognize that a moment of your physical sleep can engage multiple dreams that can span days, if not weeks, in a state where time has not the same kind of implication as when you are physically focused, which also implies something rather mind-boggling if you take it into consideration. If time can be compressed or expanded in the sleep state, then your physical waking time can have a completely different effect if understood in a different light, meaning that your physical time is entirely, literally conjured, that you have made up that time to suit your specific purposes, whilst the real nature of time is explored in greater detail whilst you are not physically directing your attention, meaning that you are engaged in dream activities. In dreams, you can also visit what you might call other life situations, ancient times or future times, which would require a more proficient recall to capture those events. The time as you live it physically is entirely constructed to suit your purposes, the purposes of your present day civilization. In other periods of your history, physical time may not have been understood in the same light at all, which can be difficult for archaeologists and historians to grasp and to understand how these events and circumstances of ancient times took place in the light of modern historical perspectives.
Sure.
So having this kind of understanding can also change the nature of your history as a race. And knowing that you literally, physically construct yourselves within the context of dream times, utilizing projections from your consciousness, from your imagination, where you literally sculpt the atoms and molecules, and even the quantas, quantum nature, in such a fashion as to project an image, what you then call yourself, can also change the nature of your understanding of time and space. So you have an amazing opportunity to understand that your sleep and dreaming activities have as much, if not even more, significance than your waking activities, since your waking activities are entirely sensory related with your physical senses, of which you may only use a fraction of their abilities. You literally trim down, you compress your physical senses' abilities to perceive in such a way that it meets your ideas of projected time and space according to the nature of your collective and individual beliefs. The time and space as you understand it is quite different in dream time, in sleep time. Even the nature of what you call space, spatial constructs, can be dismissed in the blink of a sleeping eye and transformed into a completely different setting, a completely different stage, in less time than it takes for you to have one breath. So that alone also is very significant. If quantum physics wishes to actually advance its own base of knowledge about the nature of time and space, then a more serious inquiry into dream actions would benefit them greatly. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, yes, very much so. I know that in the explorations I've done with Dreamtime, I've experienced what you've been talking about as far as the changes in time many, many times. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Indeed.
And I also think that to me, it's so very neat that something that has such a powerful ability to influence us is really so very accessible. You know, it's something that almost everybody has some familiarity with.
Indeed. Consider for a moment that there are over 7 billion people inhabiting your world. never mind all of the other life forms, some of which are not perceivable to your human eyes. All of these engage Dreamtime, both in their sleep activities and their waking activities. Dreamtime itself is an immense dimension from which your physical dimension has its birth. So it is indeed the mother energy, if you like.
Yeah, it's nice to, the information that we've gained from you over the months and the years about how what we consider to be physical reality is really just another layer of dream time, and how our activity in dream time has so much to do with what we have going on here. It's such a powerful potential tool to be utilized in somebody's life, I think.
Indeed, physical reality is, as you have suggested, but a thin, thin layer of the true nature of reality, and it cannot fully express that nature unless there is a deeper exploration of dream states, because they are interlinked. And you may not necessarily, as a species, may not necessarily yet understand that you walk in and out of dreams continuously, not only whilst you sleep, but even while you are awake. And you pay no attention to the fluctuations in brainwave patterns and energy at all. You have become almost immune to those fluctuations. You have blocked them off. One part of that is, of necessity, enabling you to actually engage in the construction of the elements of the lives, of your lives, of the conditions and the events and circumstances that make up your existence. So you almost have to do this of necessity. But there is a greater part of you that is still engaged in the dream state. So again, an study of your own dreams will greatly enhance your knowledge about yourselves, your knowledge about your reality, the nature of which is a projection from your own energy states. We have suggested many times that the universe is your state of mind. Now, of course, you have many minds, so you have many states that are engaged in the production. Just like there are many, many departments involved in the production of even one film. So there are many different states involved in the production of your physical reality, never minding the production of your dream states.
Yeah, a very intricate, collaborative affair.
The likes of which might, again, not only boggle your imagination, but short-circuit it. Because the ego construct has been programmed by ourselves to deal with a small amount of detail. So it necessarily has to look away from the greater set of activities that are occurring in the background of your own consciousness. It does not do that maliciously. It does that because it follows your dictates, your beliefs, your expectations. Were you to turn that around, were you to program yourselves differently, you could become aware of greater dimensions of your own selves, the likes of which have barely been touched upon with such individuals as Einstein, Michelangelo, and so on and so forth, the great creatives of your realities, the Beethovens and the Chopins and the Mozarts, and many, many others.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of exciting potential for individuals, average everyday individuals, to be able to explore something that can have the kind of impact on their lives that I know I've seen when I've done some of that exploration. I mean, I've had times where I've gotten precognitive information from dreams. I've had times where I've had dreams and waking time occurring side by side. There's just, it opens your mind to potentials and possibilities about yourself that you wouldn't have considered before.
Indeed, the precognitive elements in dreams can be of a high percentage indeed, in the sense that whilst you sleep and your consciousness is engaged in those other greater dimensions of self, you explore possibilities and probabilities, some of which you consider future, though they are ever present, and they are drawn into your sphere of influence as you decide to evolve and unfold your own lives. So you can have precognitive elements that you would not recognize otherwise than by writing it down, sometimes even years before the events actually seem to show up, intersecting with your life. You might have, in retrospect, recognized them as precognitive elements that showed up in your dream states years ago.
Sure.
Because in that field of experience, time and space as you understand it does not exist. It mimics what you think you know about time and space. You have some point of reference, some relationship. But at another level, the deeper subconscious levels, if you like, you know very well that time and space, as you think you know it, is completely different. Time and space, as you experience it in deeper dream states, actually relates more so with feeling, emotional, and imaginative states. Because you are a feeling, an imaginative, an emotional being of immense proportions in that sense of the word. You are the self. And the self is not influenced by time and space, but creates time and space to mete out experiences for your growth. So there you literally have the mother lode, Dreamtime.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, in the earlier days when I was exploring metaphysical information, I kind of marginalized the idea of dream time and what you could do with dreams. And then as I became a little more familiar with it, and then through the work, the sessions, the information that you've shared, I became much more interested in it, and then found that there were so many experiences that could be had through that exploration. I know I've even just begun to, explore the tip of the iceberg in that regard.
Indeed. Here is a little challenge for you. Go back to one of your dream writings from a few years ago and read, and you will find elements of those dreams have actually come to pass in one form or another. Precognitive elements are embedded in such a way that they do not intrude, and you might not detect them right away. But once you review older dreams and you pick up the patterns, then it becomes easier to detect those particular patterns as they come about. So it is an interesting study.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have journals from quite a number of years back, so I can go ahead and reference those. That'll be nice.
You have likely heard this before, but in early 2000, Joseph read a dream he had written from August to 1984. That is quite a number of years.
Mm.
And as he was reading that dream he had written and recorded, he suddenly realized that that dream from 1984 was a precognitive dream that was transpiring at this moment in February 2000. Does that make sense to you?
And of course, it was purely by accident that he was reading that particular dream journal entry.
In common vernacular, sure, it was purely coincidence.
Sure. Yes, makes a lot of sense, of course.
Do go on.
Well, as I was sharing with Joseph before you and I started to interact, Dreamtime and its exploration has been one of the things that I think are one of the more powerful keys to me being able to understand those deeper natures myself. And it really was only through a number of the courses that we've done together, not just the two of us, but others, that I really came to that understanding. Because before that, I had no idea what you could really do with dreams, and so yeah, there's been a lot of nice experiences, and I put it on the back burner for a while, but now I'm bringing it back again and starting to explore and get to some of the places I used to explore before. So there's an excitement there to be able to do that too.
And we might even share a little secret with you. Whenever you engage some dream activities, especially dreams that may seem to frighten you, elements in the dream that may seem to scare you. And many people conclude that since there might be frightening kinds of elements in dreams, is reason enough to never venture into dream states again.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, in your lovely language, is that behind all of these things, behind fearful elements represented in one form or another in dreams, is a stronger element to understand and remove those elements of daily life that you have developed through your beliefs that prevent you from experiencing a greater platform of love.
Mm-hmm.
That is why many people have so-called scary dreams, dreams where wolves seem to be snapping at their heels or some other kind of situation. In the dreams and their subconscious are asking them to confront their own fears so that they can overcome the fear and experience a greater, deeper platform or level of love. That is inherently their base nature.
Mm-hmm.
The base nature of human beings is not animalistic.
Right.
It is not an Oedipus-like complex. It is love. When you block it for one reason or another, your inner self does try its level best, but it cannot cross that barrier until you allow it, until you allow yourself to stop running from your own fears and allow love to be present, to heal you. Does that make sense to you?
It does. One of the most frightening experiences I've ever had in my whole life was in a dream. What was interesting about that dream is that even within it, I knew that it would serve me to stand and deal with what was going on in the moment. And I had interesting ways of doing it. But at the end, there was a resolution of what was going on in the dream. And then when I woke, there was a feeling of a resolution within myself too. So yeah, absolutely, just like what you were saying.
Indeed. That basic loving nature is often put aside for various reasons of your own, which would take too long to go into here, but can be explored at another time. But suffice it to say that fear, pain, is often viewed as something permanent, and love as something temporary, something fleeting that comes by, whizzes by like a fly to annoy you, distracting you from your fears. The opposite is true. The fears and challenges are the flies that seek to distract you from that base loving nature of yours. But you have confused the two. And it harms you both as an individual and as a species. And this is something you are collectively and individually attempting to work out, to sort through, and to regain your foothold into the most basic condition of all, which is the loving condition. The human condition is the loving condition. It is not pain and war and hurt. These are the results of your fears. You cannot have peace and love by engaging in war.
Absolutely.
But you can have peace and love by engaging in peaceful and loving activities. That is how you get to peace and love.
Makes total sense, of course.
So please feel free to continue.
Yeah, of course, that analogy to me is like anything you want to do in your life. I know that you've used the example of playing an instrument like a piano. If I want to learn to play the piano, I have to sit down and practice playing the piano. It doesn't really make any sense that if what you want is a life that's peaceful, with that kind of condition, a loving condition around you, that, you engage in a whole variety of other things to try to get there. So yeah, to me, that makes great degree of understanding.
Indeed, you cannot learn the piano and you cannot become a concert pianist by smashing your hands on the keys or simply smashing your hands so that they work better. Patience, perseverance, and loving your art of playing the piano or any musical instrument is what gets the job done.
I think, as individuals explore who they are and they start to become increasingly familiar with the concept that it is them in conjunction with Dreamtime, this focus them and the larger them in conjunction with Dreamtime, that's creating their experience. Little by little, you can let go of your anxiety about things, your fear about things, the understanding, the beliefs that you have to act a particular way in certain settings, and you can relax about things and you can allow yourself to be more gentle. You can allow yourself to be more loving. You can allow yourself to be more compassionate because you can let go of the beliefs that tell you need to be ways that are other than that because of conditioning, because of culture, because of family, because of whatever might happen to be.
Indeed, many individuals do operate on the premise that they must be something that others want them to be.
Sure.
Forgetting that the only way they can actually be is to be themselves. Now, that begs the question, what is you? What are you? What is self? But that opens up a wonderful Pandora's box of the highest quality, not the one that opens up fears, but the one that opens the eyes so that you can awaken to your own loving nature.
Certainly, I found that opening that particular Pandora's box has been a very inspiring exploration.
Indeed, it is.
Mm-hmm.
It is what transforms civilizations. Some degree of transformation always occurs with, say, migrations and wars and famines and this, natural disasters and so on and so forth. But the true transformative power of a civilization is the compassionate and loving awakening to one's own original nature. This is what the ancient philosophers and sages for thousands of years have been advocating. These speakers have dropped hints, subtle, not so subtle, small seeds or large seeds, hoping that even if one individual allows that seed to grow, then it will transform the world.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that, a little earlier you were mentioning individuals like Mozart and certain painters and sculptors and things like that. And so, when there are time periods in our history where more than usual, there are individuals like that that have shown up on the planet and have expressed creativity in that particular way, because there's been some deeper connection with those deeper parts of themselves. So from that perspective, if we can think about, what would happen if a large number of people were doing that, we would have such a nice creative society to live in.
Indeed. And in spite of the cacophony that seems to be playing itself out on the world stages, there are also many younger individuals in this day and age that are showing themselves to be quite capable of developing a higher intellect, and in this way, literally upgrading the human race with all manner of perceptions and inventions and genius in such a way that it can transform your understanding of yourselves, and in this way meet your challenges in a powerful way to solve those challenges.
Yeah, certainly, if you're on social media to any degree whatsoever, you see so many of those examples of what is so prevalent with, as you just said, younger individuals in our societies from all around the globe, of course.
Indeed. Even in places you might not expect, they exist.
Yeah. Kids coming up with really remarkable inventions, like to help the individuals around them in like villages in Africa or far off places in Asia and certain places, all sorts of stuff, as well as people in countries that are more technologically advanced. All sorts of stuff is happening.
Indeed. And they do bring with them interesting solutions.
Right.
These are all individuals who are able to tap into the various states of dream time that connect with what you might call a future or future probable realities, bringing solutions with them.
Well, it seems like they're doing it pretty effectively. And it's nice. And it also seems like more and more individuals of all age groups tend to be paying closer attention and tend to be acting and supporting those movements that those individuals are coming forward with.
It is much needed because whether it is realized or not, human beings are able to recognize that in one way, their particular individual and collective beliefs are coming up short, cannot carry them further to any great degree. They need a new influx of energy, a new influx of genius, the kind of genius that transform worlds.
Yeah, as I see those individuals express themselves, one of the things that's nice about that process is that it helps me to be inspired as well, and have the I guess increased impetus to explore some of the things that maybe I would not be as apt to explore without seeing some of the examples of what individuals who are so very young doing. I mean, sometimes, kids that are under 10 years of age. It's really, really neat.
They carry the seeds of hope, and those seeds are vibrant. Those seeds carry energy that can simply ignite the human spirit in such a way that the transformations are natural and organic.
Right. Yeah, it is a much different process than if you have individuals trying to create a movement. I'll just use the word artificially, and try to get everybody to follow it. Whereas if it seems to be happening organically, just within individuals spread around, it does seem to be a movement that then you don't see the same kind of resistance applied to.
Indeed, it only takes one little spark to start an immense forest fire. That's all it takes, one little spark. So that one little spark of human creativity should be fanned and brought into full flame. And this is happening. Now, we will return Joseph to you, and we thank you for your lovely consideration.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Indeed. The camera will still run.
Welcome back, sirs.
Yeah, the sun is starting to go down a little bit. I guess it got darker.
That. Right. Yeah, you took the opportunity to reach up and turn the light on about 5 minutes.
He just pulled the curtain open.
Oh, I see. Okay. It was tough from my perspective to tell exactly what was happening.
There. How's that?
That's good.
Yeah. So how did it go?
Went very well. Shared a lot about Dreamtime. Shared a lot about the inventive and creative individuals that are showing up on the planet, young individuals especially. A lot about our basic nature as loving individuals, and kind of that exploration of Dreamtime as a way to kind of foster that and bring it back into your life. It was very nice. It was very, very nice.
Maybe make a couple of little notes of the highlights of the discussion, and then we can include that in the keywords or the description of it.
Okay, sounds good.
Cool. So we call it a night.
Sounds good. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to stop the video.
Okay, I'll stop the recording too.
And I will stop the recording.